Hi. Greetings from Wisdom Lord Raphael. Before we start, please hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell icon and don't miss any content. This is the light novel of that time I got reincarnated as a slime. If you haven't watched previous video, I will leave the link on the description box, or you can click here. Let's start. This is Tensura Light Novel Volume 17. Tensura Light Novel. Volume 17. Fragments Across Space-Time. Chapter 2. Distant Memories. Journey's End. What a relief. I had misjudged that there was someone in this world I couldn't beat. But you can't touch me. Why is that? I am very cautious. I have always played the good guy because I was careful not to incur any resentment. But you stopped playing the good guy because you were sure of victory. But my victory is assured. I already have a plan. It's confusing. Just get to the point. Kekiki, you're an impatient one. Okay, let me tell you. In Azalia, Rosium, and Arsha, these three countries have developed new bombs. The methods are different, but the principle is the same. Well, that doesn't matter. What matters is the power. You don't think you can kill me with that bomb, can you? No, I don't think so. I'm confident that I can handle it, so I'm sure you won't get through to him. Yeah? Then why do you keep bringing up the bombs? Don't be in a hurry. Well, I can understand why you'd be nervous. By rushing the conversation, Pulcinella irritated Velgrind. Understanding that it was the right thing to do, Velgrind continued to go along. Pulcinella is the kind of coward who aims for a sudden attack while they are discussing whether or not to make use of him. It would have been better to kill him quickly, but Velgrind decided to listen to him. The reason is simple, to avoid trouble later. If he's going to tell me about the deviousness, she thinks it's only polite to listen. In addition, one of the reasons was that she had absolute confidence that she'd be fine, no matter what he did to them. So far, Velgrind had been listening to Pulcinella's story in a relatively relaxed manner, but her smile fades when she hears his next comment. What is my plan, exactly? I'm going to steal those bombs and detonate them over each country's capitals. I've already got a hand in place. It's too late to panic. The damn thing had already been exposed. What nonsense. If you do this, innocent people will be killed. Don't be ridiculous, bastard. Without leadership, the order in the country will collapse as well. I thought the basic plan of the demon's plan was to raise humanity as your dependents. What the hell do you think you're doing? Looking around at the people who were shouting, Pulcinella gave a twisted smile of amusement. How delightful. Yes, of course. I'm also at a loss. As Masahiko says, it's best to cultivate humans. But the sheer number of them outweighs the demons. They live through this war-torn age, so it doesn't affect us. All we have to do is slowly gather the survivors and breed them. Pulcinella boasted that there was no problem, although the plan was delayed. The theory was ridiculous, but it wasn't wrong. Realizing this, even Amari Masahiko stopped talking. Jensei also paled and looked at Velgrind. If Pulcinella was going on explaining for so long, it means he was stalling. That means the plan is currently in progress. There was no way for Jensei and his team to get out of this situation. They'd have to rely on instantaneous movement, which only Velgrind can perform. There would be many casualties, but they must still let the world leaders alone. Fortunately, now that they had all taken refuge in the Empire, Jensei thought that Velgrind would be able to get them out. That's why he watched Velgrind, but regretted not seeing it. Because right there was an angry goddess. Pulcinella's plan was an offense to Velgrind. It pains me that innocent lives must be sacrificed. If it were possible, I would prefer not to inflict that kind of sacrifice. How about it? Shall you leave me alone? If we don't interfere with each other, I'll give you the Empire, no, half the world, if that's what you want. Pulcinella didn't take a chance and offered Velgrind a deal. He thought he had a good chance with a bomb threat. But he had been too naive. You're a lowlife. I would have let you get away with any underhanded move against me, but I won't let you get away with anything that involves that person. I won't let you go back to the wheel of reincarnation. I'll break your soul and give you eternal suffering. Velgrind's true nature is caustic. She's powerful, so she can afford to be, but at the flip of a switch, she'll snap at the drop of a hat. Well, wait. That's why I don't want to be a part of this, wait. If I don't tell them to stop, my men will detonate the bombs. They're already over the capitals of 5 countries. Let's not be so rude. Shut up. I took care of that a long time ago. What was said was incomprehensible to Pulcinella. It wasn't just Pulcinella, but none of the people there could understand what Velgrind had said. They didn't think she was bluffing either, but it felt like she was telling the truth. But it would be impossible for her to be here and protect 5 countries at once. That was a narrow-minded assessment. Velgrind has parallel existence, so that can be dealt with without difficulty. Velgrind would never leave Akira's side, so the kingdom was secure. And if she'd been somewhere before, she can get there in a flash. Azalea, Arsha, Rosium, and China. All of these places had been visited by Velgrind. All problems were cleared. The parallel existence was separated from Velgrind beside Akira and scattered to the nations. They then sought out the hidden demons and blew away the new bombs. That's impossible. How is that possible? He tried desperately to contact his men, but they were long dead, and he never heard from them. Pulcinella's face contorted in horror as he faced that reality. He finally realized just how dangerous this beautiful woman in front of him was. Forgive me, please forgive me. No good. There's nothing scarier than an angry, beautiful woman's smile. Everyone in the room understood that this was the case. No, no. Scorched dragon cardinal acceleration. A flash of supernova-like light flares up behind Pulcinella as he tries to escape. Surrounded by the heat, Pulcinella's soul shatters and disappears. The damage didn't stop there. Velgrind had intended to keep it on a very small scale, but it was enough to wipe out a third of the continent. The survivors could not help but be stunned. The goddess standing before them seemed both beautiful and terrifying. As an aside, Velgrind's scorched dragon cardinal acceleration had caused damage in places unrelated to this world. Beyond dimensions, the aftermath of the space-time continuous attack had even reached Cornu, the master of the demon possessed by Pulcinella. His attempt to open the underworld gate had taken a toll on him, and he had lost his entire army and was injured so badly that it would take him decades to recover. The damage was horrific, but to Velgrind, it was just another story. Well, a goddess would have been that way since ancient times. It would be obvious that it's the fault of humanity for offending her. Is what Akira Sakura said after the whole situation was explained to him. I'm sorry. I thought I had held back quite a bit, but I guess I had more power than I thought. It was no use saying cute things, but there was no one to rush in. The same is true of Akira. There is no choice but to forgive Velgrind for what she did. Fortunately, although the damage was far worse than usual, Pulcinella was the only one who died. The demons had disappeared completely from the Azalea naval base, which was their base, all the way to the hidden cove including the military port. In the aftermath, the seas were rough and tempest-like, and various phenomena occurred, but Velgrind calmed them. Evaporated seawater created a storm, but her weather control saved the day. The lost cove had turned into magma, but that too had been taken care of. There were lost plantations and such, but through an unintelligible act of divine grace, a new environment was born that day, thanks to a high healing of the earth. Well, as a result. Although the terrain had changed, the impact was minimal. Thus, the crisis of humanity's invasion by demons was safely solved with the help of a capricious goddess. A few years later. Velgrind never again interfered in human history. It was because Akira Sakura didn't want it. Her power was transcendent. In this world without magic, everything would be a farce if Velgrind traveled. So, she entrusted it to him. She told him that there would be failures, but that it was for the good of humanity to experience them. Spending a peaceful time beside Akira, the goddess watched over the lives of men. Eventually the end would come. Akira Sakura's life was coming to an end. Velgrind and everyone who cares about him, not to mention Akira's family and close confidants, are all gathered there. Meanwhile, while he was asleep, Akira woke up. I am happy. I had the good fortune of being loved by the goddess and have enjoyed peace. But I fear for those I will leave behind, do not allow them to fight for me. Always seek dialogue. Keep in mind. Conflicts are boring. Those were Akira Sakura's last words. Conflict can be put up with when it's for one's own sake. But when it's for the ones you love, it's something you should reject. Not only for your honor, but for the honor of those you love. Or, conversely, you could erase their fear by inciting it, but that is an unacceptable act for a nation or a religion to preside over. It sounds good when you say it's for someone else's sake, but that is also an act of placing the blame on others. One must take responsibility for their own actions, that's what Akira Sakura tried to convey. At the mercy of the turbulent times, Akira Sakura had a desire to aim for a world without conflict. He didn't know how to make it come true, but he kept thinking about the answer. Always being responsible for your own actions. Always striving to understand the other and seeking mutual understanding through dialogue. With these two things, Akira Sakura passed away. His face was filled with peace, and there was no doubt that he had passed away. You did your best. I'm really proud of you. Velgrind gently caressed the dead face of Akira Sakura, then his body began to glow. The light became a small crystal and was absorbed into the shining piece of soul and disappeared. Holding it to her heart, Velgrind cried lovingly and sadly. Now that Rudra's reincarnation, Akira Sakura, was gone, there was no reason for Velgrind to remain there. Well then, I'll be going, but you guys take care of yourselves. I'm sure we won't see each other again, but Velgrin swallowed her words and greeted them. It seems that feelings can be conveyed without saying anything. Ryo-sama, I would like to follow you. You can't do that. Maybe. But I'd rather have hope than give up here. Well, it seems like I've been to this world a lot and there are no absolutes in the world, you know. So good luck with that. Yes. Shenhua replied happily. Some of the people who were listening to that conversation had similar dreams. They too were fascinated. When faced with a real goddess, they couldn't help but admire her. And just like Shenhua, they had a secret desire to meet Velgrind again one day. Then I'll see you somewhere else. The words of exchange from Amari Masahiko represented everyone's feelings at that moment. Velgrind smiled slightly. It was unclear what she thought at that moment. But that smile captivated the hearts of all who saw it. Yeah, I'll see you around. Velgrind said this happily and leapt from there. Decades have passed since Velgrind left. Mankind was once again enjoying peace. There were nations with ambitions, but their noses were broken by the riots. Several generations would be, and war was unlikely in the foreseeable future. George returned to the United States of Azalia to complete his term as president. Then he would support his son Emil. But Emil had set up an entertainment agency. He wanted to bring some light to a world made heavy by war and famine. For Emil, who had inherited the talent of the genius scammer, it was his calling. Through his work, the world was slowly getting brighter. He was assisted by Amari Masahiko. He had resigned from the army after the peace treaty was signed. He took full responsibility for the war and asked for his resignation. Akira Sakura, who was still alive at the time, allowed him to do so. He gave a secret order to Masahiko and released him from the empire. Now freed, Masahiko joined up with Emil and provided financial support. He also used his vast network of contacts to rapidly grow the entertainment agency to the point where it was a major player in the industry within a few years. It is rumored too that they had taken horribly malicious measures. He seems to have lived a life that never saw the light of day with several mafia groups in tow. Nevertheless, the two remained close, and when something went wrong, Emil turned to Amari Masahiko for help. This is how Emil's entertainment agency would grow into a major corporation that would be known not only in the United States of Azalia, but all over the world. On a different note, there is an interesting rumor about this entertainment agency. In Emil's office, a beautiful girl named Longhua is the main attraction. She had retired and then resumed her career after a few years. Naturally, she was replaced by her substitutes, but it is well known that her true face remained shrouded in mystery. However, according to the rumors, her real name is Shenhua. Strangely enough, all of Longhua's real names are the same. This was a dream come true. It's not true that all of them are the same person, but it makes them think so, and it's all about the fans. Such topics are often mentioned in weekly magazines, but it goes without saying that they are really the same person. Shenhua had gained an immortal body by taking in Velgrin's dragon energy, aura. She relied on Amari Masahiko because it would be difficult to live in a human society as it was. Shenhua was not the only one. Others, such as Li Jinlong and Delia, had defeated the demons on their own and took on the power of a sage. There were others who had also done that. Most of the soldiers possessed by the demons had been freed by Velgrind. However, some of them were awakened as a sage. Such people also gathered under the leadership of Amari Masahiko. It was then that Araki Jensei and Minamoto Saburo-san taught these men the Aboro Shinmei Ryu, the sword that wards off evil. This is how the next generation of strong men would grow up. A supranational anti-demon organization would be born from these men. Their battle would not end until the promised day. That's all for today. Hope you guys enjoy it. Please check my other videos. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe and hit the notification icon. And don't miss any updates. Thank you for watching.